Poland has recently proposed a law that penalizes those who hold Poland responsible for Nazi German atrocities committed during World War II. The law particularly aims at penalizing the use of the misleading expression Polish death camps. This law has led to some very strong words and sometimes accusations, in particular from Israeli leaders, with some going as far as to accuse Poland of running death camps. This has led to a diplomatic fallout between Poland and Israel, but also to great disappointment for many Poles. I'm not a supporter of the bill, as I'm a firm believer in free speech. I support thorough education over and above criminalization. However, I cannot stand by idly as my country is being slandered, held co-responsible of Nazi atrocities, the historical truth is being distorted, and Germany's role in World War II whitewashed. Firstly, there seems to be confusion as to what the bill seeks to achieve. The bill is similar to the Holocaust denial laws in many Western countries. It intends to punish those who describe the death camps as Polish and thus shift the responsibility of the crimes. Secondly, there appears to be confusion about why Poland cares so much. Many of you may wonder why the term Polish death camps is so problematic. After all, many of the camps were located in present-day Poland. However, this is geographically and historically inaccurate, and referencing them that way deflects responsibility from the perpetrators onto the Poles, who were one of the greatest victims of German Nazi atrocities. Poland at that time was under occupation and was integrated into the German Third Reich. The genocidal Generalplan Ost involved not only the annexation of Poland, but also the total destruction of Polish culture and nation. Unlike the rest of occupied Europe, in occupied Poland there was no official collaboration at either a political or economic level. Despite military defeat, the Polish government never surrendered to Nazi Germany, instead evacuating to the west, where it continued the fight. The Poles set up the largest underground resistance in all of occupied Europe. The Home Army had some 400,000 members at its peak, and small acts of resistance were widespread and commonplace. The Israeli War Crime Commission estimated that less than 0.1% of ethnic Poles collaborated. Underground courts were even set up by the Poles to prosecute traitors, informants, and collaborators. That included those who denounced Jews in hiding. The German occupation resulted in the deaths of some 6 million Poles, of which 3 million were Jews, or roughly in total 20% of Poland's pre-war population. The Germans also engaged in concentrated efforts to destroy Polish culture, the Polish elite and intelligentsia, and aimed at the Germanization of annexed land. However, before the destruction of Poles, they set the aim of eradicating European Jewry. In response, the Polish resistance set up Żegota, the Council for the Aid of Jews, the only secret organization in all of occupied Europe designated specifically to aid Jews. More Jews were rescued in Poland than in any other nation, with the rescue figure being put between 100 and 150,000, and this despite the fact that Poland was one of the only occupied countries where aiding a Jew resulted in a death penalty for every Pole living in the household where Jews were discovered. Thousands of families, such as the Ulm family, paid with their lives. Despite the risks, Poles constitute the largest contingent of those honored as righteous amongst the nations. Historians estimate that some 100 to 300,000 Poles met Yad Vashem criteria, and some, such as Richard Lucas, claim that up to 1 million Poles could have been involved in giving aid to Jews. The Nazi Germans set up camps to eradicate Jews. Auschwitz-Birkenau is not a Polish name, and Arbeit macht frei is not in Polish. The first prisoners of that notorious camp were actually ethnic Poles. And it was also Poles who attempted to inform an incredulous and disbelieving world of the horrors of the Holocaust and called in vain for action to stop it. It was a Polish cavalry officer, Witold Pilecki, who volunteered to infiltrate Auschwitz-Birkenau, where he spent 2.5 years smuggling information about the horrors happening there before escaping and writing the Witold Report. It was the Polish foreign minister, Count Edward Raczyński, who in 1942 provided the Allies with one of the earliest and most accurate accounts of the ongoing Holocaust and pleaded for action. And again, It was a Polish officer, Jan Karski, an eyewitness of the ghettos, who then smuggled his reports to the West and personally informed a disinterested President Roosevelt of the suffering of the Polish Jews. And yet, despite this knowledge, the Allies did nothing, despite the desperate pleading of the Poles to stop the annihilation of European Jewry. So yes, given all of this, to call the camps Polish is scandalous, historically untrue, and deeply insulting to the memories of both Polish and Jewish victims of Nazi Germany. There were no Polish death camps. Poland did not collaborate with Nazi Germany. Poles overwhelmingly did not collaborate with the Nazi German occupiers. Obviously not all Poles were courageous saints. No one in Poland is denying that some Poles did despicable things, nor is anyone denying that there wasn't some anti-Semitism in Poland before, during, or after the war. However, the simple truth is that the camps were designed, created, operated, staffed, and run by Nazi Germany and their collaborators. This is a Nazi German crime, and referring to them as anything else is an affront to the victims of that murderous regime. The diplomatic spat, however, is between our leaders. I, as a Polish citizen, would like to leave politics aside and invite my Jewish brothers and sisters to come and discover Poland, not just to reflect on the horrors of the Holocaust and pay tribute to those who were murdered in Nazi camps, but also to come and discover a country where Poles and Jews shared 1,000 years of history, with some ups and downs. Our two nations have been inextricably linked for 1,000 years. It was in Poland, once upon a time, that Jews found a safe haven and refuge, and today you might discover again a beautiful and welcoming country. Goodbye, do widzenia, and shalom.